All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. We thought we'd just bring together the crew for a quick kind of comprehensive update on what's going on with the storm and where we're at. I'm not going to talk a lot because you have the experts over here. They're going to tell you where we're at with kind of the cleanup operation. My theme just is going to be this, that we continue to need just a high level of patience in the community right now. This is a record-breaking snowfall for the last couple days, and so patience, patience, patience is kind of the theme. I know a lot of people are asking or calling our office, hey, when are the plows going to come past my street? And so just patience, or we're getting there. We're working through the zones right now. The other theme, and then I'll turn it over to Dustin Hanson with the streets, is there's a lot of folks right now that are going to need help, just plowing out, shoveling out, snow blowing out. Even myself spent a little bit of time outside this morning at my place, and this is some heavy snow, and there's not a lot of place to put it. So checking on your neighbor, helping people is going to be a big theme to our digging out process from this one. So I'm going to turn over to Dustin Hanson, who's going to tell y'all where we're at with the removal process and our plowing zone process. So Dustin?
Thank you, Mayor. Dustin Hanson, Street Operations Manager with Public Works. Just wanted to note that a lot of our crews have been on 12-hour shifts since the middle of December, so they're getting tired just like everybody else. I think we've had one day off in that span, so we've got well over 200 people, including contractors, working this event. So if you see them, tell them good job, thank you. Obviously, our emergency routes are our number one priority in an event like this. We have those 100% completed as of last night. We moved into our residential zones, Zone 3 last night about 8 p.m. We moved into Zone 2 this morning at 8 a.m. and then we'll move into east-west streets at 8 p.m. tonight to finish up Zone 2. Our goal is to have the entire city plowed out early tomorrow morning, no later than noon. Again, I want to stress there's a lot of snow out there. We're narrowing a lot of streets up, and that's just typical when we get a lot of snow. We had 20 inches on the ground. I'm going to debate the 12 inches from the National Weather Service. I think we're probably closer to 20. So it's just going to take us some time. And then after that, we'll be picking up downtown snow, and then we'll start to go on our major arterials to pick up that. And so we could potentially be picking up snow for the next 3 to 4 weeks in the city, just because there's so much out there. And it doesn't look like there's a reprieve in temperatures to where we're going to get some good melting. Luckily, next 7 days should be dry. So with that, I will turn it over to Jeff Gardner.
Jeff Garden, Operations, Uniform Services Division, Police Department. Officers are currently working emergency snow routes, ticketing and towing, making sure that they're clear so that the plows can get through and get them as wide as we can for traffic and emergency services. We have not moved into Zone 2 or 3 for any ticketing or operations there. Trying to give a little more time for homeowners and everybody to try and get things cleared out and get their vehicles out of there. Eventually we will move in there and we will start ticketing to start getting vehicles out of there. But again, with the amount of snow that we have, we want to give a little extra time to homeowners and folks to try and get their cars out of there. With all the snow and everything that we have in mind, a couple of reminders out there. If you have to venture out, if you're driving, the number one thing that's already been mentioned here is be patient. With the amount of snow that we have, it's piling up. We're running out of places to put it for now. And as such, the piles are going to get higher. They're going to be harder to see around. Lanes are going to get narrowed. We're going to go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes to 1 lane. So be patient. Work with other motorists out there. Look around and please watch for emergency services. Give them plenty of room to get around you if they need to go somewhere. Not only emergency services, fire, ambulance, police, but watch for all the tow trucks in the city as well. They are working just as hard as anybody in this storm. They're all overbooked. They're working 24 hours just like everybody else. and without them, we would be all under a pile of snow right now. So keep all that in mind, and as you are out driving, that patience includes increasing your stopping distance, doing good surface appraisals. How deep is the snow? Can you actually make it through it? Is it slick? Is it glassed over? And as you're approaching stop signs, stoplights, give extra time to stop and avoid those fender benders out there. Save everybody a lot of time. Make sure and clear all the snow off of your windows in your vehicle so that you can actually see when you're driving and see everything around you. There's enough distractions and eliminations out there. This is one that we can take care of before you ever leave. So without that, I don't have anything else. I'll turn it over to Chief Tim.
Chief John Toom, Captain Gardner really took care of a lot of it. What I just want to highlight is the response by our first responders yesterday, including Minnehaha County Sheriff's Office, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, Highway Patrol, other local police departments. And really, it was a busy day for them, and working with the fire department and with EMS as well. Our systems worked, our plans are in place. We have plans in place to deal with weather events such as this, is how we're going to respond to calls and how we're going to do certain things. It's just important for people to understand when we issue a no travel advisory that we mean it, right? That's not something you see very often from us. So if you see that, take notice. I think many people did take notice. But again, common sense and just looking at what's out there and making sure that we take care of each other at this point. Also unique we get a unique perspective to see people helping people. It's not just law enforcement pushing people out, it's random people pushing their neighbors out, grabbing a shovel, digging in and doing good work. Just on my way home, I saw a random college kid shoveling a lady's driveway because she got stuck. And I think it's a great time to be a great neighbor and to really build those relationships with our neighbors and, you know what, get out and help each other. And just, and again, a special shout out to, I think we talk about first responders a lot, and we don't really recognize the tow truck drivers and the work they do and the danger that they sometimes see, especially in these events. And again, want people to be patient with them because they're overwhelmed with work right now, and I really appreciate everything they do in snow events like this. And I'll turn it over to Regan, who's got should have some good statistics and other things for us to look at.
Thanks, Chief. Regan Smith, City Emergency Management. As always, this was a team effort. The city multi-agency coordination team started looking at this event last Friday, sharing the weather situation reports and going into planning mode there. Not only city departments, but Minnehaha County, Lincoln County, Law Enforcement Emergency Management, Metro Communications, XL Energy, and our hospital systems were in constant communication really over the last week. I do have some statistics from Metro Communications 911. That's from 0600 yesterday through 7:30 a.m. this morning. There were 194 stranded vehicles between the city and the county. 87 of those were left unoccupied to be checked later on, or were occupied and able to safely wait for a tow truck. 57 stalled vehicles, 27 non-emergency or non-injury accidents, 1 priority, and 3 injury accidents. As far as Sioux Falls response in town, PCMS ambulance responded to 87 calls. Sioux Falls Fire responded to 62, and Sioux Falls Police was the winner with 358 responses. Sioux Falls Fire is still in storm mode. Dustin did borrow us 3 large snowplows, and with those trucks, we're coordinating joint response with PMCS ambulance, and we'll continue to do that until the neighborhoods are plowed out. The city did have a number of essential employees that we did house at a downtown hotel overnight to ensure they were able to work and do their essential work. And I know at least one of our hospital systems did the same with their employees. I would just encourage residents again to help their neighbors, get out there and check on their neighbors, help them shovel out. Shovel smart, dress warmly, stay hydrated, take breaks, and move small amounts with with each pass of those shovels. And then my final request is from Sioux Falls Fire. When residents are out there and getting cleaned out, I'd ask residents to clear out 3 feet around those hydrants in their neighborhoods. And I think the snow is going to be here for quite a while, so it's those seconds are going to make a big difference when those crews show up to get access to those hydrants. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
All right, well, just to wrap up, really, I think 3 things I want to close with. One is we had a fellow public servant, a plow operator with the county, who passed away from a health event yesterday while doing his work. And so our thoughts and prayers have been with the county and with the colleagues of that individual and his family. So I would just ask that people keep that family in their prayers and think about them during this hard time. Second thing I want to touch on is the fact that right now we're in a challenging time for small businesses. It's already a hard time after the holidays, and now with this weather event, it's really taken a toll on our restaurants and small business community. So if you can support our small business community in any way right now, please consider doing that, because it's difficult right now and it's challenging as a small business. And then the third thing is the best way to keep informed on this stuff, two main ways. Go to siouxfalls.org/snow, or you can also get text alerts by texting snow alert to 888-777. So we're pretty good about keeping people up to date through those 2 mediums. So with that, I want to thank these gentlemen for their great work in this response. We'd open up to any questions. Dan.
Chief, we see a lot of sidewalks that still do have some snow throughout the city. Just how important is it for residents and anyone to make sure sidewalks are cleared off so people can travel on those instead of down the middle of
Yeah.
the roadway, something we've seen a few times.
It's a great point. If you were driving around yesterday, you saw a lot of people walking in the street. It's just an event like this, let's just be honest, it produces a lot of work for everybody, and that includes the homeowners and people. It's important you get your sidewalks shoveled out for pedestrian safety, but additionally, we want services to continue. Your mailman needs to get to where they need to get to. The officers or other first responders need to get there. Kids, I'm assuming school will be open tomorrow. I don't work for the school, but I can kind of assume. A lot of kids need those sidewalks cleared to get to school. And so again, there's on many levels. It's from not just a safety standpoint, but just from it helps everybody out if we get those cleared.
And when streets are kind of constricted because of all the snow, no longer, 2 or 3 lanes, but maybe even down to 1, because there's just so much building up on each side, how does that impact safety driving down that street, and what should drivers really bear in mind when they're approaching a roadway?
Yeah, and you'll get to some of our side streets now. And again, we kind of have short memories. If you've lived in Sioux Falls long enough, we have historical snowfalls from time to time, and we know in the past these side streets especially get choked sometimes to single lanes by the time the snow is moved. Slow down, common sense, be courteous, err on the side of yielding as opposed to maybe taking the initiative on one of those engagements. And if we just give each other a little more time and space, that's the best way we can do. Because yeah, these side streets, especially if snow mounds start to get built up a little bit, visibility decreases at intersections. And so it's just, again, a good reminder, especially for a lot of people who haven't seen a snowfall like this before. I have to think back many years since we've had one of this size. So.
Chief Jim, the Sioux Falls PD kind of takes the top prize for responding to medical calls.
Yeah. Well, those are all calls for service. We still have other people making interesting decisions in the midst of snowstorms as well. So those are normal police calls because those don't stop either. I will say the difference when I was driving more towards lunch, a lot of people really listened to our advice. Roads were empty, businesses were down, and I think it's important to note that many people heeded the advice, realized this was a special weather event, and decided, hey, maybe I should just stay home and eat what I have in my cupboard rather than making the run to the grocery store. So.
You talk about the challenges the weather poses for law enforcement and responding to these calls and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have to kind of look at especially from a vehicle response. If you got on some of the side roads yesterday, it was going to be challenging to get through them, even with four-wheel drive. So our officers have to plan ahead. We have to coordinate. I know fire coordinates with some of our street department plows. If we really need to get somewhere, we have open communication and good lines of communication where we can coordinate our response. But we do a good job of preparing our officers. And the other thing too is nobody wants to be the individual that gets stuck, right? So there's a good sense of making sure we take care and make good choices. But we're going to get stuck in these situations too. So what you'll see with this, thankfully, it was relatively warm for this event. The brutal cold makes things very, very difficult as well. So I think we got a little lucky on that side that this wasn't accompanied with some of that really bad cold we'd experienced earlier in the past couple weeks.
The officers' vehicles have gotten stuck.
Yeah, it's just a reality doing the job. I tell you what, though, you've seen our fleet with the Ford, the all-wheel drive vehicles that we use. The Crown Victorias got stuck a lot more back in the day. So we've adapted our fleet through time to be able to handle that a little bit better. Any other PD-related questions? All right, thank you.
So Dustin, the goal is for all city residential streets to be cleared out by,
Our goal is by noon tomorrow.
and in the meantime, is patience really the biggest message to someone who lives on one of these residential routes?
Yes, I would say patience is probably the key word here in this event, just because there's so much snow out there and there's so much already there that it's going to take us a while to get these streets cleaned up. I'm surprised how quickly we're going through some of these, but again, it's going to take us some time. So I don't want to say, yep, everything's going to be done by 8 a.m., which it could not be. So we could get into some areas where there may be a little bit more snow or drifted, and looking at this right now that it's snowing out, we may have to go back onto the emergency routes as we speak. So that could delay the process as well.
That's what, we got a couple questions? Sure. Yeah, can you talk about some of the challenges that like fire department faces when responding to calls?
I mean, the same thing. A lot of ambulances were getting stuck, and so the fire department assisted on those, and then eventually went to where we had a task force with those ambulance crews, where fire crews and a plow would go on every one of those EMS calls out into those. So yeah, we get stuck just like the PD. We move apparatus around, start using more 4x4. Smaller vehicles on the EMS responses and things like that. But, we definitely have the same challenges as residents and other folks do with equipment, with getting our staff into town, those type of things, getting staff to work just like everybody else, just like the hospital systems and everybody else.
What are the nature of some of those emergency calls?
Just your standard medical calls. That we have day to day. I don't know that they're necessarily related to the events, but just your standard calls that always happen in a city.
And maybe talk about the importance of staying in constant communication with the other city agencies, county agencies.
Yeah, I mean it's just, and we do this year round. On every event, whatever it is, and we have the communication tools now and the technology, so we can share that information, so we know again what the situation is, what the weather is, and then what each agency is doing, what their role is, how they've adjusted their plans, adjusted their equipment and personnel, and that way we're not we only have a certain amount of resources, so we're not duplicating resources, those type of things, and we're just not in normal day-to-day operations, and we want to know who's doing what and how they're doing it.
Is there a certain time frame you like to respond to an emergency? Do you still set a goal for the time?
We obviously we still have those standards, but it's going to be affected, and you just do the best you can with the situation.
Any particular trouble spots in the city that have been most challenging?
I mean, there's some areas on the outskirts where it's drifted and those type of things where we've gotten through there. But again, we've worked with the additional resources we've had and with the street department to get there.